Hi, David Thexton here, and welcome to podcast number 2 of Everything Business Consulting, brought to you by ConsultX Business Success Program. This week's podcast is for those of you out there who are business consultants or you want to become a business consultant. You may already be a business consultant but are looking to improve your skills. You may be working in corporate and you want to get out of the rat race and start a new career. Or you may be an accountant or ex-business owner. The common theme here is that you're looking for a new profession, one that enables you to help business owners plan your own lifestyle, earn a lot of money, and have the option to build a substantial consulting business if you want to take it further. Today's guest is Steve Potts. Steve has been part of our network for a long time. He is from Auckland, New Zealand, and he and his business partner, Alex Peterson, are currently building a consulting firm in Auckland. But before we talk to Steve, let me tell you about ConsultX Business Success Program. ConsultX is an online cloud-based business consulting application that has everything you need if you want to become a business consultant or be a better business consultant. With over a decade of development, ConsultX offers you a unique opportunity to enter the world of business consulting with a complete system ready to run straight out of the box. In other words, once you sign up, you have access to everything you need to build a business for yourself. Get out of the rat race and invest in yourself with your own consulting business. Manage your own time and enjoy a lifestyle business where you are the boss and you benefit 100% from your efforts. ConsultX provides a complete web-based training system where you work your way through at your own pace, learning all the important lessons that we've learned over a decade of being in this profession. If this sounds like you, then go to www.info.consultx.com. I'll repeat that, www.info.consultx.com, and learn more about this opportunity. Now, let's talk to Steve. Hi Steve, welcome to our weekly podcast interview section. Steve is based in Auckland, New Zealand and has been with ConsultX for 4 years approximately. Steve, are you all fired up, ready to go?
Yep, ready to go, David. It's great to be able to tell my story.
Good, great. Well, you've been involved in business consulting for some time now. Please tell us what you were doing before you became a consultant.
David, I was involved in running my own company. This company sold products to grocery and hardware outlets, plus a few other types of things like pharmacy, etc. I had sales reps and merchandising representatives right around New Zealand. I actually still have a financial interest in that company, but I'm not involved in it on a day-to-day basis running of it.
What were you doing before that?
Before that, well, I was 20 years with doing that. Before that, I'd come out of a multinational background. After being in the multinational background for about 15 years, transferring around the country and a little bit of overseas work, I realised that that wasn't the type of path I wanted to take. So that's when I first decided to start up my own business, which I did.
What I'm driving at is, for the benefit of everybody listening, is that I believe that you were a policeman for a while.
Oh, yep. That was a few haircuts ago. I started off, I came from a farming background initially, and 1 o'clock one morning pulled up outside the police station and saw what they were paying, and I pulled outside the police station. I might like to add to get something to eat because there was a takeaway place right across the road. Went across and read their notice board, and to cut a long story short, 6 months later I was in the police college, or the police academy as some may call it. Went through to becoming in the criminal investigation branch and the robbery squad, chasing people, bad guys that robbed banks and shops and things like that.
I asked that question because one of the things that people who are thinking of becoming a consultant, they worry a bit about what their particular background is, and I say to them, well, it doesn't really matter what your background is. It's the passion and the motivation and wanting to do what business consultants do that's the most important thing. It's not a lack of a profession that stops people. It's the lack of desire and passion that stops them. So that's why I pushed you on that policeman question, because
Yeah, no, good as gold, and I can't help I can't help but agree with you in what you just said.
Yeah, well, that probably comes in handy too with some clients, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. I don't have the resources to do as much like I used to be able to in certain aspects of that business though.
So, what attracted you to business consulting?
Whilst I was in my own company, David, I knew I wanted to get out on my own and do something. As my other business had become reasonably large with a number of staff, and I realised that I needed to escape the beast again. So I'd sort of reinvented the beast. And I saw I did a lot of research about a number of different businesses, and I saw business consulting going straight to the top of the list, as it was an area that I could pass on my business experience to others and work for myself. I also saw that I could build a lifestyle around the consultancy style of business, and that I could recognise that I could work. It would give me flexibility in both my work and personal pursuits. And certainly hasn't let me down in that area.
That's excellent. New people that are wanting to come in talk a lot about lifestyle options in a business like this. They tell me that they're stuck on the motorway for 3 or 4 hours a day and more if there's an accident, and really they get their life back is what they're looking for, and most of the people in our network agree with that.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that, and a lot of consultants, as you know, have family commitments as well, and all of a sudden they've found their family again, and that's great for them as well.
So what was your experience in your first 6 months as a consultant?
I realised that it was head down, backside up. I very quickly had it confirmed to myself that I had to go out and get in front of as many potential clients as I could. Certainly, if you sit on your seat, they won't come knocking on the door. I remember putting my first business plan together after going through the number of meetings following the ConsultX program and thinking, God, if it takes me this long to do this, what's it going to be like once I get 7 or 8 clients? But I very quickly learned that the business owners also really started to rely on me to be their other partner in their business without me having any ownership, of course. And as time went on, you became far more proficient in getting business plans together and in getting the whole process running smoothly. And now it takes me probably about 20% of the time it used to put things together.
Yeah, that's what I found as well. I found that when I started back in 2005, I was very slow, and I kind of built systems to help me to speed things up and to become more efficient, because what you're trying to do, as I see it, is you're trying to cut your time down so that you're not overworked, but also get the output out that's enough output to justify the fees that you're charging. So it's kind of it's like a set of scales. It's balancing in the middle, is to find out that what they're willing to pay for the time that you're able to give. So you need to be pretty much leveraged, I think. I think you agree with that.
I do agree with that, and but also balancing that with not thinking that your total worth to the client is spending a lot of time in their business, because that will backfire on you fairly quickly too in many cases.
Yeah, it's the quality of the information that you're giving them is where the money is in. It's not the work.
Yep, exactly.
Correct. Can you tell our listeners how you got clients at the beginning and then compared to how you get them now?
Yeah, so I got my first client through telemarketing. As you know, we had a telemarketing set up, and so I went and followed up a number of inquiries based on appointments made by telemarketing. So that's the first one with a tick beside it. I then actually got another one through an unusual way, which was through a direct inquiry to the business. This business that inquired was in the region I was servicing, so I got that taken on. And then really I got the rest through referrals or just talking to people I met about what I did. And that would be whether it was in a casual conversation in a cafe or at a barbecue, at another client Christmas function. So I found that if I actually talked to people what I did with businesses, I didn't find anyone that didn't want to know more about it. And so the next lot of clients, probably from about at least 3 through to at one stage I was running 10 or 11 clients, were all done through that referral and just talking and networking with people. All my clients that I've signed have been fairly long-term clients. as that happened, the need to look for new business did diminish as I got on top of what I'd got in not a short time, but a relatively shortish time. And I found that a great way to do it. It was very personal way to get business, and when you walk through the door based on referrals or talking to people, you had a very warm appointment right from the first minute.
Yeah, I reckon it's about 90% money in the bank from a referral.
Yep, that's correct. I didn't get too many that said no after they had been referred, and you can set it up right from the first minute as a very positive experience for them. And there's a trust factor comes in straight away because someone that they know very well, or someone that they've done a lot of business with, has referred you to them. So it breaks down a lot of barriers fairly quickly.
Yeah, that's great. You've used the Business Success Program right from the start. Can you describe to our listeners the benefit you've gained from it?
Yeah, the program actually gave me a pathway to follow from start to finish, which when you first put the feet on the ground is pretty reassuring, that you know that there's something backing you up. I won't say it's quite like painting with numbers, but it's certainly step 1 to step 10 as such. There are actually too many facets to describe it in this conversation. However, whilst the program has a set formula, one of the things I really liked is it also has a flexibility, which enables you to stamp your own mark on it. That suits me, and of course, as we realise, each business has its own little idiosyncrasies, and it's good to be able to adapt around what their desires, needs, or actions that are needed, rather than have something that blocks you the whole way through and is inflexible. The process of using the Business Success Program ConsultX and client acquisition is great, and I really can't emphasise this part of it enough. It enables you to move a prospective client from a state of uncertainty to a position of why wouldn't I sign up, and I think that's important. It takes them through a process over 2 meetings, with the final meeting, the sign-up meeting, and it really points out the reasons why this business program will work for them. They have a soft close with all the detail you need to ensure that your prospect is fully informed, which is great. It gives the prospect, /client, it gives them a sense of security that they've done the right thing, because the program points out, as I said before, the exact reasons why they need us and they need the ConsultX Business Success Program.
Yeah, I learned very early on in consulting that I actually needed a pathway to run on, and that was how the Business Success Program started, because I like you, had a lot of clients, and it was pretty confusing when you're dealing with 14, 15, 16 clients simultaneously. It could be very easy to get mixed up. So I put the thing together and made it systematic. So for me initially, and it worked. So that was how we unrolled the thing and how we developed it long term for the rest of the network. Can you tell our listeners how many clients you have today, and very quickly what type of businesses that they are, just so that the people listening can get a bit of an idea as to who we work with?
Yes, I have 8 clients currently. I think over the 4 years I've signed 13, I can't quite remember, 13 or 14 clients. The businesses that they cover, from electrical and cable installation, commercial furniture sales. They get the product manufactured in New Zealand mostly, some imported product to go out to offices and showrooms, etc. An importer and an exporter of foodstuffs and confectionery. A heavy machinery mechanical workshop.
Yep.
A light vehicle mechanical workshop. Printing and design. Top of the market coffee machines bought in out of Germany, and supplies for offices and showrooms, etc. And an edible flowers and garnishes to the restaurant trade in New Zealand, and recently we just broke into the hot market in Hong Kong as well. I've just finished with a jewellery company after 3.5 years. The owner deliberately downsized to suit a lifestyle and cashed up a fair bit of money, and that's pretty well the spectrum. So it's pretty diversified.
Yeah, When I'm talking to people, they ask me that question, and really the only answer to it is that it's everything and everybody. There's no any one type of industry or profession or business. It comes from the whole spectrum, doesn't it?
Yep, it is. Well, as we've certainly been shown and had proven to us over time, is that a structure of all businesses are exactly the same. It's what they do that it's a bit different, and the expertise of what they do is actually in their business. We get that structure right and get the expertise flowing in the right direction, and generally you'll find you've got a working business.
Yeah, I agree. Can you tell our audience, don't want to be negative, but what client failures that you had and what you could have done if you had your time again? Maybe you couldn't do anything, but just quickly talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yes, I like to think that I haven't really had total failures. Most of the business I've finished with have been done on my terms, or the business concern has been sold to someone else that's been well out of my last business. I had a business, actually, not the last one, a year or two ago, where the owner was down the bottom of the South Island. So it was best just to leave that alone. If I was to generalise over all the businesses that have probably not performed as well as I would have wished, I'd say that the common denominator would be that they haven't held themselves as accountable as they should have in ensuring to get all their identified business improvements, or as we call it, tasks, done in a timely manner. And I've found that a great learning curve, and something that even 4 years down the track or probably 3 years down the track, it sort of came up behind me and gave me a clip on the ear. Part of my responsibilities, as you know, David, is to manage them through that and get them responsible for completing tasks. How even with that, I've found that if the will isn't there, they can struggle to accomplish things, and it seems as though that you start losing the fight when that happens. On the reverse side of it all, though, just finishing on a positive on that statement, the clients that enthusiastically drive themselves to accomplish goals and tasks are the ones that are succeeding the best. So that's the secret. We know experienced consultants know what to do, how to go about it, etc. But you need that passion coming from the inside to the outside as well. And those that you can get to move their business mind and their personal mind into being passionate about what they're doing and seeing that they will have good business results or improved business results by being that way, you'll get the best success with.
Yeah, they make the best clients, don't they?
Yeah, they're more enjoyable to work with as well. Obviously, there's nothing sort of more disheartening than going into the next meeting and knowing that 50 or 60 or 70%, sometimes everything, just isn't being done, and trying to hold them accountable. And of course, they're all bottom line people, below the line people. They'll find every excuse under the sun why things haven't been done.
Can you give our listeners a couple of examples of how you helped your clients to build better businesses?
Yep. I certainly can. My first example would be the commercial furniture company, and it's something it's a bit of a common theme I use, but I really concentrated on them seeing the value in what they were doing and being able to portray it in such a way that their clients wanted to use them as their preferred supplier. So I got them to have belief in themselves and what they were doing. Now, as a result of that, I'm just taking a step back and portraying their products and their services as a value-added proposition. In reality, it was exactly the same as what they had been doing before, but without the belief and thought, they didn't portray that to their customers. Now, interestingly enough, over the last 3 years, we've moved their gross margin or GP from around the 25% mark, and that's where they thought they had to be competitive. It's now starting to hit the 45% mark.
Wow.
And that's happened in a relatively short period of time. And in the same process, we've doubled their sales. Their inquiry work's up 250%, and we now have 2 employees in other major centres around the country. And we are doing some exporting into Fiji next month. I'm trying to wrangle a trip. I don't know whether it'll happen or not. And it's for a major hotel refurb, which would even be better. There has been growing pains with that company, David, but however, with the GP now being in a great position, it's a lot easier. to be able to support that growth. And these guys are stunned that they themselves, and they still mention it probably at least 3 or 4 times a year, that they are able to sell that same product for that price and make a good profit out of it.
That's a great story.
It is. I do enjoy that one, I must say. My other company is an import-export company, and sort of turned the business a little bit on the head there as we identified customers who we wanted to deal with. They had a number of customers, not a huge amount, but a number. And one of the things I asked them was, who are your customers that you would really like to deal with out of the list, and who are the ones that are difficult to deal with? As a result of that, we put the good guys to the top and the not so good guys to the bottom. And it was very hard for them to accept that initially, because the not so good guys were very, very big companies, and they saw that as something that they were just pushing away and could impact on their turnover negatively, or their growth probably would be a better word to say, negatively, because they still didn't have a lot of business with them. However, the story is, by prioritising our customer list, we were then able to allocate the correct resources to each of those customers. We approached the top customers on the list and basically said, in the ideal world, what could we do for you to make your job easier and your business more profitable? And that was the question we asked, exactly like that. Cutting that story short, by doing this, we increased overall sales with the company by 35% in 1.5 years, and increased profitability by around 5%. A company that was a company that we would have, say, sold around about 1 20-foot container in for Easter that went to the top of the list, we did 9 20-foot containers to them this Easter. They're an easy company to deal with. They don't quibble too much on price. They want to work with you, not against you. And once you sell them that product for that price, that's it. There's not take after that, like as we know in some parts of the industry there is. And so that was a great success story in actually identifying who we should deal with, and then allocating the resources and assertively growing the business with them.
I think when you're consulting to a client, that should almost just about be a standard procedure to go through their clients and rank them in the same way that you did. Yeah.
Yes, it is a very, very good procedure on that, because and you know, we all like to deal with people we like as well. So there in itself is a major opportunity if those businesses are sitting at the bottom of the list just because of turnover. Let's put the turnover to one side, look at the potential, and take them to the top of the list.
Yep, good idea. Tell me, a lot of people are interested in average lifetime of clients, and I think in the network you're probably almost the best, just about. Can you tell us what the average lifetime is of your clients?
Yeah, well, you're right. I've pretty well been going 4 years and 3 months, I think it is, out in the field after, as we did in the old days, that intensive training spread across a few weeks. And I just sat down and worked it out for that question. So my average is around about 3 years for me. My longest time with a client is 4 years, and we celebrated that last month. So that's the one I got pretty well straight away. And in saying that, my newest client has been on board for 3 months. What I've found there is that my clients know, if they don't know before I walk through the door, they know within 10 minutes of me walking through the door in the first interview that this system is all about longevity. It's all about achieving a lot of things over a long time, not trying to be a star in a short time. And as we know, many people underestimate what they can do in the medium long term and absolutely overestimate what can be achieved in the short term. So I frame businesses and people up that are involved in the business on more than one occasion to let them know that this is all about being around for a long time, and that's the way we will get the results. And so far it's worked. So I must be doing something right.
Yes. Well, so as I mentioned before, you seem to have the clients with the longest retention factor, which is really good. Now, I'm going to ask you this question here, and I'm not going to listen but you can tell our listeners. Can you tell listeners a bit about your lifestyle as a consultant today when compared to 9-to-5 employment? So I'm going to put my fingers in my ears now.
You accuse me of all sorts of things, David. What I've found is I have the flexibility to work when I don't want to. And don't get me wrong, I put the hard yards in, but it was my choice, no one else's. I can take time out almost whenever I want to, and if I need to make up time, putting in a couple of half days in over a weekend or into the evening is a very small price to pay, actually. Hey, you're still at your house anyway. Your wife's around the corner doing something different, and you can get up and walk through and make a coffee or a tea or whatever's your choice at any time and have a chat. And I love that flexibility of being able to do that. As you know, David, I've got a small holiday home out of town a bit at a lake, and I sometimes go down there on a Thursday afternoon. Beauty of that is I can throw my laptop and a bit of work in the boot or the trunk, depending where you're listening this, and head south by 9 o'clock on Friday morning. I'm sitting at my dining table with a view overlooking the lake, and doing my work sitting there. I've got spare office equipment there that I can use, printers, etc. And I always finish by 2:30 when I do that on a Friday, because I need to be in town by 3 o'clock to have a nice refreshing beer with a couple of mates, which is great. It's a tough world, as I say to them. So you can do.
You just can't do that when you're in corporate, can you?
No, you can't. No, you can't. And the other side of that too is, in corporate, when going back a little while, is of course if you're doing something in between times that possibly you shouldn't be, like ripping into a shop to buy a new jacket or something, the atmosphere is generally one of looking over your shoulder all the time. You certainly don't have to do that. All you've got to do is be your own judge and look at your own outputs. And if you can do that, look at your own outputs and be satisfied with what you're doing and have the ability to push yourself to achieve what you desire, then you can build that around lifestyle. I actually work a 2-week cycle. I load 90% of my appointments up in 1 week, keep my next week fairly free to be able to do any follow-up work, adjustments of appointment if someone's away, other meetings, etc. And that works extremely well as well. I couldn't recommend it more highly.
That's great, because that's what it's all about. There is millions of people around the world who want the lifestyle that you've just described, and I'm not saying business consulting is the only way to achieve that, but it's certainly if you come from business and if you've got a bit of business experience or management experience, then it's certainly something worth considering, because it can be very lucrative and very easy on your time. Thanks for that. Can you give our listeners a bit of advice to them on the best path to entering the consulting profession and why? I'll give you an example with me. When I started consulting, I actually went out and I went and got some business cards printed and some letterhead paper. We don't do that anymore. Printed and just went out and started talking to people. And it happened relatively quickly, but I did identify that I never had a track to run on. I never had a system or a process. And I often think back, if I had had a system like our system, then and been trained on our system, I would have been like a rocket ship. I was more like a 747. So yeah, you invested into a system like this, and so yeah, I'm just saying, do you think it was the best path for you, or do you think there's another path?
No, I straight away say that it's the best path to use is having a system such as the ConsultX system. It gives, as I said earlier on, it gives you the ability to start at point 1 and finish at point 10. It gives you a form of confidence and knowing that you're covering all, if you use it properly, you're covering all the aspects that are needed in consulting and business. And it gives you the ability to produce the required results that, as we know, many businesses need. To be able to go out on your own or try and set up your own system or Google different systems and bring them all together and etc. is not a very good way to do it. And as you know, David, we have a number of consultants or consultants that had tried it that way found it very difficult and have moved through to this system, and it's given them the confidence to move forward and build their business.
Yeah, and it's not really my system. Like, sure, I built the skeleton of it starting in 2005, but as people like you joined the network, everybody started contributing to it. So it became a I suppose a product of probably 100 plus people and their clients, what was learned in their clients. So it certainly is in a continuous improvement process, and that's
well,
why
that's certainly
so
something that I say to prospective people is that there's no sitting on the hands within the organisation as such. It's been a learning process and input from a whole lot of different people within our network, which has ended up in getting something that we can all work with.
I agree. So tell me, do you have two favourite books that have helped you to become a better consultant, and why do you choose these books?
Yeah, I have to be truthful. I'm not huge on getting inspiration from books. However, I realise it's not I usually find, that I've got to get it from within me. If I can't find it within me, a book isn't necessarily going to teach me. However, I do realise it's not the same for everyone. And a couple of books that I have read and found useful. Persuade Your Customer to Pay More, which is the speaker we had at our conference a couple of years ago, Ian Brooks. That really fits in with so I suppose mine's not been learning, but I'm not trying to sound smug there, but reconfirming how I think, because it really suits what I've always tried to do with my clients. It is great examples on how to add value over and above or dissuading discounting of price. So, I do recommend that to people. And he lectures, I think he's a Canadian based and now living in New Zealand, but certainly lectures all around the world, Great Britain, Australia, United States, Canada, etc., etc. So,
I think he said at our conference, he said that he was on the Toyota payroll, and they shoot him around the world doing stuff, don't they?
Yes, he does that. He's talked to some pretty powerful groups when you read his bio, and and it's an interesting read too. And the second one is something that I've just recently read, and it's called Revenue Growth Habit, the art of growing your business by 15% in 15 minutes per day. Actually, I haven't got the author to that. I didn't make a note of that, but and I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. But once again, it's pretty simple stuff. It's easy to read. It's actually quite an interesting read, and it's actually what I like about that and the previous book I talked about. It's actually easy actionable advice and blows a lot of modern thinking theory out of the window. Talk a lot about what a lot of businesses think about Facebook, etc., or they all think they have to be involved in that. He tends to blow that theory out of the window because he talks about the fact that business to business is not necessarily the right way to go. And of course, most of it, if you're business to customer coming in off the street, could be. But it is easy to read. It's as I said, it's actionable advice, and that would be one of my suggestions, because I like books that if you're going to learn from something, it's something that you can actually apply. And that's what both those books are. They have things that you can apply in your consulting career.
I'll go and look up the name of Ian Brooks's book and the author of Revenue Growth Habit, and I'll put them on the show notes for everybody who's listening, and they can have a look at that afterwards. Well, Steve, thanks for your frank and interesting interview. I'm sure our listeners will have gained a lot from it.
Thanks, David. Yep, I'm pleased to be on the show, and good luck to all those that are coming into the profession. I will see you on the ConsultX Facebook pages at some time in the future, and never know, at a conference in Hawaii or Sydney or Fiji or something like that. That would be great.
Well, we're moving into the States, and that'll probably mean that at the end of 2017, I think the most central place is going to be somewhere like Hawaii, so that'd be great to have a conference there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, as I say, it's a tough profession, but someone's got to do
it. Great. Thanks for that, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, David. Thanks.
My definition of a lifestyle business is one where you decide the hours you want to work, who you work with, and how much you want to earn. Many people I talk to describe in detail the drudgery of their current job, hours of commuting, boring meetings, little chance of promotion, and remuneration just enough to live on. Imagine a business where you can take the kids to school when you want to, have a 3 or 4 day weekend when you want to, cut out the commuting, and have complete freedom of your time. Business consulting is a business where you get paid for what's between your ears, not the hours you work. Working on a percentage of revenue basis frees you from time-based earning systems and takes away all the income ceilings. I've worked from home since 2005, and right now I'm looking out of my office window at the green rolling pastures of New Zealand, about 50 kilometres south of Auckland. Fantastic. But in order to move forward, you have to make some important decisions to make that change. You've already started that change by listening to this weekly podcast. This podcast is all about that change, and each week we'll be highlighting a number of topics and features that will be of interest to you, whether you are already a consultant or you are looking to become one. We will interview people in our network and dig deep into what makes them tick and why they've become successful. We will read out your letters and answer them for you. We will discuss a case history from our client files. We will discuss a special topic every week from our listeners' suggestions. Bottom line, if you're a business consultant or want to become one, this is the podcast for you. This podcast will be recorded every Monday, New Zealand time, and be available to you each Wednesday, United States time. Our email address for communication is david@consultx.com. That's david@consultx.com. If you want to get more information right now, then go to www.info.consultx.com. I'll repeat that, www.info.consultx.com. There you'll find everything you need to know to become a part of our consulting network. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week on Everything Business Consulting.